Good morning, sixth graders. This is Mr. Johnson, and I figured now would be a good time to go through the rock cycle quiz, which we took last week Friday, but didn't get a chance to go through the correct answers. And if you want, you could retake this quiz, though a different version of it, once you understand your mistakes and know the correct answers. So part one, identifying the different parts of the rock cycle, that's on the back of the sheet, so we'll get to that second. Let's start with identifying different rocks. So there's 4 different types of rocks here. There's intrusive igneous, extrusive igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. So which one of those would be the metamorphic rock? Well, if you look at each of these rocks, here's a rock that has what looks like a fish fossil in it. Here's a rock that has a bunch of speckles in it with different colored crystals. Here's a rock that's kind of shiny, like a glass-like feature to it. That should look familiar to you guys. And then we have a rock here with different layers, and these layers are kind of wavy up and down. So which one of these would be metamorphic? Most likely would be this rock with the wavy layers to it, because it went under heat and pressure, and that's what kind of flattened it out and bent it with the change in temperature. So rock D would be metamorphic. Which rock would be intrusive igneous? Well, the igneous rocks are right there in the middle. Intrusive means it formed inside the earth, and when that happens, it cools off slowly, resulting in much larger crystals, which is what you see here with rock B. Extrusive igneous rock, well, this rock you should be able to recognize. It's obsidian, and it cools on the surface, and it cools so quickly that it doesn't even form crystals at all. It just has this glassy feature to it. So rock C would be extrusive igneous rock, and then sedimentary, well, rock A looks like a sedimentary rock. Well, number one, because it's got a fossil in it. And that's what typically happens when animals and plants get buried under sediments, and those sediments turn into rock. Sedimentary rock. Fossil. There you go. So question 17, explain how you knew which rock was metamorphic. We said rock D was metamorphic because it had those layers that were bent and wavy. Explain how you knew which rock was intrusive igneous rock. That would be rock B because of the speckles and different crystal colors that you see with it. Which rock was extrusive igneous rock? That would be rock C because it's glassy and cool off very quickly, so it did not have any crystals. And then how did you know which rock was sedimentary rock? That would be rock A because it's got the fossil in it. That tells you it's sedimentary. And then what was the specific name for rock A? Rock A, you could put down either sandstone or limestone. Both of those are sedimentary rocks that would have fossils in it. What would be the specific name of rock B? Rock B is granite. What's the specific name for rock C? C is obsidian. And what would the name for rock D be? Rock D is gneiss with a G, folks. Okay, on to the next page, where you had to do the rock cycle. Now for this part of the activity, it's a little bit trickier. I gave you a bunch of vocabulary words and terms up on the board, and you had to be able to fill in where they were supposed to go. So they were already given to you, and some of them you had to use more than once. So let's start with some of the clues that are already given to us. So first of all, magma. What happens with magma is that it undergoes a process and turns into a certain type of rock. Well, what type of rock does magma turn into? Well, it turns into igneous rock. Okay, how does magma turn to igneous rock? It undergoes cooling. It's kind of hard to write with one hand. Okay, to become igneous rock. But then igneous rock in turn can go through a process where it becomes magma again. How does igneous rock become magma again? Well, it undergoes melting. Okay, so we have that. Now, igneous rock undergoes a process where it turns into another type of rock up here at the top. So what process can igneous rock undergo before it turns another type of rock? Well, it can undergo the process of heat and pressure and become metamorphic rock. Okay, and then metamorphic rock can undergo a process where it can become sediments. So how does metamorphic rock undergo a process to become sediments? Well, it can undergo weathering and erosion and become sediments. And then those sediments in turn can undergo a process to become another type of rock. Well, sediments become sedimentary rock, But what process does sediments undergo to become sedimentary rock? Compaction, where it gets piled together, and cementing, where minerals in the water that are dissolved cause those grains to stick together and become cemented together. All right, so we got a few more blanks to fill in. So igneous rock does what to become sediments? Again, weathering and erosion. And sediments, well, let's see, sedimentary rock undergoes what process to become sediments? Well, again, weathering and erosion. I believe that one came up about 3 times on our board. And sedimentary rock undergoes a process to become metamorphic rock. What process would that be? Heat and pressure. Okay, and then last but not least, metamorphic rock. What happens to metamorphic rock before it becomes magma? It melts. So that's what your board should have looked like with those different processes. The next page, you had a Venn diagram. So you have the similarities between rocks and minerals, and characteristics that are special to rocks and characteristics that are special to minerals. And I listed up for you guys up at the top this word bank or word phrase bank that you could use for this. So usually made up of one or more minerals, that would be a rock. Rocks are one or more minerals. Has a definite chemical makeup, that would be a characteristic of minerals. Definite chemical makeup. They're all the same. They have all the same mineral or all the same substance that makes up a mineral. Rocks, remember, have more than one mineral that are all mixed together. Solid, well, that's a characteristic of both of them. They're both going to be solids. Has a crystal structure, that would be minerals. Some are made of ancient plants that have been buried, that would be rocks. And again, those plants would be types of coal. And naturally occurring, that would be both of them as well. So that's what the Venn diagram should have looked like. And there's other examples that you could have put into both sides as well. And then at the very bottom, it says, explain how a rock can get broken down into sediment. Don't just say weathering and erosion. Describe the weathering or erosion process that's powerful enough to break down rocks into tiny bits. I was hoping you would mention something about wind, where it would pick up particles and blast them against rocks and slowly etch them away over time. And water. Water can bang rocks together or wash over the surface of rocks and gradually cause them to bang together and crack and fall apart into little pieces. That's how sand is created. Next question, suppose you were to visit the Earth's moon. Would you expect to find the rock cycle on the moon? Explain your answer. The answer is no. No rock cycle on the moon, mainly because the moon doesn't have any wind or water. There's no weather on the moon, no atmosphere, no liquid water that could wash over the surface and cause rocks to break down. There is, however, magma inside the moon. Okay, so the only types of rocks you're going to find on the moon's surface are igneous rocks, but there's no water or dissolved minerals to cause sedimentary rocks to form, and no volcanic activity on the surface of the moon that would shoot up rocks from inside the moon for metamorphic rocks. So just igneous rocks on the moon's surface. So you can look on Google Classroom later this week, and you'll see another version of this quiz if you wish to retake it for a better grade. Thank you. I hope this helped.